Hi everyone, it's Cindy from Cindy's Art, and today we are going to paint a watercolor ocean beach. And I started off with a quick sketch of this picture on a 4.5 by 6-inch Arches cold press paper. I'm going to list the paints below for you. I actually am trying out some of my Daniel Smith colors that are new for me, and I found this lapis blue that you can use, and it's beautiful. It's this one right here. It's got a purple tone to it, extremely soft in color. I used some light creams in this water area that we're laying out. I'm laying out both the sky and the water to start with because they blend so well. So when I am putting together my horizon line, you're not going to see it very strong. I'm going to keep it super soft. I used a little bit of a turquoise color for the water, and I'm going to use more of that later on in the painting. And then towards the top of the sky, I used a creamy color with a tiny bit of a gray and a little bit of a green, if you can believe it. So I'm just going to continue to lay out just the soft colors of this water. I love to start off super light with my paintings and just outline. For example, I'm outlining around the cliffs right now, taking my water and taking my paintbrush wet on wet right up to those cliffs and the beach, but I am not moving fast. And so I've really slowed this video down, and I hope you enjoy painting along today. I'm staying with my water right now. I've moved from the sky, now I'm going to move down to the water line, and I'm going to add in a tiny bit of this yellowish color. It's a yellow ochre type of color. I'll list all of the paint colors that I used for this in the description for you. But I wanted to stay with the water, and I'm putting a little bit of how the sand or the sky reflected this orangey tone into the water. There was a little bit of a rose color that I'll reflect in there later. I'm going to use more turquoise, but I'm staying with my wet on wet, and my paper's not super wet, so it's not going to spread out fast. And if you see me put in a dark color like this, most likely that's going to be for the bottom part of a wave, and you'll see that as we develop this picture. pretty much the top part of my painting has dried. I've worked in other areas where it was not wet, and I didn't have to risk wetting down an area like the sand and worrying about it running into where the water line is. There is a white water line that I'm going to protect as I lay this beach down. I'm working wet on wet. I'm using a lot of that yellow ochre, a little bit of cream, and I'll use a little bit of an orange mixed in there, along with some other colors. So we're just going to move forward on this beach. Take your time, enjoy this painting. I love the softness of this beach, and I chose, as I worked on this picture, to bring out some of those browns along with the blue tones. I really wanted to develop those rocks and the sand. So that's what you're going to see that I do as I work forward on mine. Feel free to pick lighter colors, paint with a little bit less paint. I build my painting up and I put in a lot of layers of paint. But feel free to keep it really soft. This would be a beautiful picture to keep soft and light as well. I hope you're having fun. If you are, be sure to hit that like button. I'm using some of my darker browns for me to lay out some of the cliffs in the background. And you're going to see where I am placing a little bit more of the outline towards the top of the cliffs and at the forefronts basically to the left. And what I'm doing is dabbing in my colors. I'm going to do that for a while. And I'm doing that because I want to see how this Daniel Smith paint spreads out, how it gradiates, which means that the paint, if it's got speckles in it and it sits down into the paper, I am actually going to see some of those flecks show up. And that's what you are going to see that as we move forward when I paint this section of the cliffs and then when I move into some of the darker cliffs. So I'm dabbing my paint. I'm taking a little bit of paint on my brush. Here I'm dabbing in some straight orange and I'm letting it blend on that cliff. So I'm trying some new things out with a paint to see what it will do for me, and putting a little bit of watercolor paint on water is amazing. Watch it spread. Just enjoy it. Now that I've let these other areas sit and that water is dry, I'm going to go back in so I can add some more of these colors to show up in this beach. And I'm going to need a little bit of pink tones, a little bit of my turquoise, and I'm going to try to keep this nice and creamy. I'm not going to add straight color onto it. So I'm going to develop the waves, I'm going to develop the yellows, and I'm going to do it carefully that I don't take a yellow and a blue, blend it, and wind up with green in that water. So just again, continue to enjoy painting this watercolor ocean beach. I'm looking at my picture and I'm asking myself, what do I want? And I can tend to paint kind of light. So I decided to be very bold, take some neutral color and just put it on top of these rocks that are closest to me. I like the effect of it because it almost makes me want to look down into the distance and see these other rocks. So I'm going to darken this up and I'm going to darken the cliff that is furthest away from me too. And I'm going to leave room for some fog to come up and be seen a little bit more clearly as we move forward. But one of the things I always tell myself is to be bold and paint the dark so that way I can see this contrast of light. I'm not going to see the light if I don't have dark in there too. I'm using a little bit of white gouache to add to the top of this wave, and I didn't feel it was strong enough, so I actually grabbed my Sakura white pen and I added some white in there too, and that worked really well. I do not mind grabbing what I need as a tool for me to get the effect that I want. I'm grabbing my Mincho pen. I have a set, and this is a very, very fine and tiny pen for this size. And what I'm doing is just adding a little bit of people in. And to keep the perspective, I'm just making sure that I make them very small. And it was easiest to do this with this little pen. Here's another way for you to bring back fog into a picture. I took this brush. Now this brush is extremely stiff. I'm going to list it down below for you, and I bought this at Cheap Joe's. And I put a little bit of water on this brush. I dabbed it on this beach, and then I scraped it just a tiny bit so I could lift up color. And so I did that along the beach to try and blur out some of the details of this cliff and some of the beach, because when the mist is back in that section, it is not crisp, clear details. It needs to be nice and soft. So this is a great technique. Put a little bit of water on this object, take a brush, just kind of lift up some of that paint, and then dab it with paper towel, and that'll lift that paint off, and it will look foggy. I hope you've enjoyed doing this painting, I would love to see your work, and I share in my description how you can do that. I have a lot of watercolor ocean paintings on my page, so be sure to check those videos out. And I'm looking forward to seeing you the next time. Be sure to subscribe so we can catch each other, and we'll see you next time.